Howdy race fans! I am StockCar Scott, and this is my little show about racing I call In the Pits. And In the Pits is brought to you thanks to a generous sponsorship from Monte Carlo Express Delivery. Monte Carlo Express Delivery, serving the courier needs of the Seattle area for the last decade. Please like us on Facebook. All right, dog. Time for the dog to go. Time for the dog to go. Okay. Where will we start? Okay, oops, excuse me. I made a little mistake, and I always like to take care of my mistakes first thing. And last week, for the last IRL race there in Southern California, I said, who did I say? I said Scott Dixon won the race. Well, I was wrong. I was looking at just the uniform, and he has a matching uniform with Tony Kanaan, who also drives for Chip Ganassi. And he was actually the winning driver of the, MAV TV 500 there in Fontana last Saturday night. So, that taken care of, our Saturday night before last, let's see, before the last show. Anyway, and while we're on August 30th, which that was that Saturday night, also on that night, which I saw later on tape delay, was a K&N West Pro Series race in Bakersfield, California. And it was a good race, though Greg Pursley led quite a bit of it, but it's a good looking track. It's got a little oval in the front stretch for legends and smaller cars like that, and then it's got a big, I think it's like a half mile that goes around, and it is very, very nice and new. It's only about 3 years old. Third race they've had the K&N series there, and it was built over the past decade, although at the beginning they had a little financial problem getting it going, but they did get it finished, and it replaces the old Mesa Marin racetrack down in Southern California that was torn down several years ago. But this new Kearns County Raceway is what it's called, and it's where they had the Bakersfield 150, and it was a really good race, really nice looking track from what TV shows. I'd really like to get down there sometime. And the race ended on a little bit of a sour note, big sour note for Greg Pursley, because he was leading going into the end of the race, and there was a green-white checker, and he had been getting some really good restarts. That's how I'll put it. He had been getting some really good restarts. And NASCAR thought that it was just a little bit too good of a restart on that first green-white checker go-around. So, unfortunately, they black flagged him, and Dylan Lumpkin in the number 9 car, number 9 Ford, Sunrise Ford, was able to win the race because he was second, and that's his second win. He got his first win. I saw that one last year at Evergreen Speedway up there in Monroe. But that was a real good race there. Let's see what else has happened here lately. Okay, on Facebook, I saw that Hannah Newhouse from over on the east side, Idaho and such. She races around in there in Twin Falls and places. She has got a new sponsorship that is just fantastic. I hope she gets a car over this way sometime next year. But she is going to be sponsored by Boise State. Her car's going to be blue and orange. She got blue and orange Boise State driver suit. It looks like they're in, whole hog there. I mean, they're going all the way with this thing. Really look like they're going to put some promotion behind it as she tours the western states in her racing career there. And also, I think one of the best things that's going to come out of this is, from what I understand, young Hannah Newhouse is getting her college education out of this. It's not just a sponsorship, but it's also a scholarship. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that new car and hearing nothing but good things out of Hannah Newhouse. Way to go. Another thing I heard about on the internet that I read here the other day was my favorite local late model driver, Gary Lewis, four-time champion in a couple of different series and four-time winner of the Montana 200. He's got him a really nice race plan here for the beginning of next month. The same team that fields cars for Braden Havens, go Braden, go Killer B, there is also going to field a car for Gary Lewis at Martinsville, Virginia. It's going to be his first time to get to race there. Braden's also going to be racing there. So, man, I hope there's some way I can get to watch it on online, or I doubt on TV, but online would be great. I'll let you know when I hear something about it. But I'm really looking forward to hearing about Gary Lewis racing at Martinsville, Virginia on, I do believe it's October 5th, in a 300-lap race. So, woo, that's got me going. I really want to hear good things from Gary. Okay. Now, Scott's caught up a little bit, so we'll get back to racing from last week that was on TV. Early Friday morning, I got up and watched practice, and didn't get up early enough to see Lewis Hamilton practice at first because he had problems. It really stunk there at Monza, the longest running track in F1, has had a race longer than any other track, kind of like the Martinsville of F1, you might say. But got up early to see him practice, and he didn't practice until towards the end because his car just wouldn't go. It wouldn't get off the grid. So everybody else got to practice but him. His chief rival and teammate there, Nico Rosberg, had a pretty good practice. He was, I do believe, first in practice. So he did get out a little bit later and knock Nico down a peg, but it was just worrisome right there at the beginning of the weekend that Hamilton would have seemingly problems again there. Later on in the day, after I did a little courier work, came home and found out that nationwide qualifying had gone on, and that the Toad, Kyle Busch, in his number 54 Monster Toyota, was on the pole there for the night race there at Richmond that I was going to watch Friday night. Right after that, they had the qualifying for Cup and Sprint Cup. Bad Brad was on the pole, and he did pretty good there. And still on a roll is the old man, Jeff Gordon. He timed in second, so he had him a really good starting place there for the Richmond 400 on Saturday night. Junior didn't have such a good starting place. He started 24th. He qualified 24th, so he had his work cut out for him. So next up, after qualifying there for Cup, was the nationwide race, and I forget how many laps it was. I think 250. But the problem was the Toad in his 54 Monster Energy drink, Camry there, led every lap. So I don't have a whole lot to say about that race. It just was not enjoyable for me in the least little bit. There. But anyway, so Chase Elliott, son of Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, placed that number 9 Napa Junior Motorsports Camaro in second place, and Harvick in another Junior Motorsports Camaro finished in third, and Ryan Blaney in a Penske Mustang was able to pilot that into fourth place, And he does not get any nationwide points, as I've told you before, because he is running in the truck series for the truck championship against his buddy Bubba, and doing a pretty good job there. But he does well when he gets in the nationwide cars also. Fifth place was RCR driver, Richard Childress Racing driver, Brian Scott, no relation to StockCar Scott. He finished fifth. Another junior motorsports driver, second in the points, Regan Smith, finished sixth, and third place in points is Ty Dillon, driving his Pop's number 3 Camaro there, and he finished ninth. So that makes the points for the Nationwide Series this week. First is Chase Elliott. Second is still Regan Smith, and closing up on him is Ty Dillon. So that is really getting to be a good race between those top 3 nationwide drivers, even though people like the Toad come in and take all the points for leading all the laps and leading the most laps and winning the race and all that stuff. Just takes that away, and nobody gets that. So because Chase came in second, it's almost like he won the race, because he was the highest finishing nationwide driver that collected points. Okay, enough of that. Early on Saturday, I got up to watch Monza some more. They had qualifying early Saturday morning, and Hamilton got his car fixed. Yay! And qualified on the pole. Yay! His teammate and chief rival for the championship, Nico Rosberg, qualified second. Okay, this is getting old, folks, but it looks like it's going to be this way to the end of the F1 season with Rosberg and Hamilton, Hamilton and Rosberg. They blocked out the front row. Second row, I do believe, was Williams Mercedes with Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas. And the Red Bulls, I do believe, took up the next row with Vettel and Ricciardo. On to Saturday night. Had a big break there. Had time to do some yard work and other stuff around the house. So anyway, Saturday evening came the Cup race at Richmond. What's supposed to be the excitement track. They held a 400 lap race. And I tell you, ESPN did all they could to hype this thing up as the most important, exciting race of the year. And boy, did it not deliver. It was unfortunate. I mean, I usually like racing at Richmond. That's the thing that just kills me is usually racing at Richmond is really, really good. But this time, it just didn't make the hype. And one of the reasons is because bad Brad Keselowski stunk the show up so bad. He was on the pole with Jeff Gordon on the outside, and he let, I forget who, maybe Jeff and Kevin lead a couple of laps there. But it was only 17 laps that bad Brad Keselowski in his number 2 Miller Lite Ford didn't lead. I mean, he just dominated with a capital D. I mean, it was, and it made for a really not exciting race with only one leader out there the whole time. Of course, they tried to keep things going with Clint Boyer's only 7 points out of making the chase, and Greg Biffle's only 7 points ahead of falling out of the chase, and this and that. And if somebody like this happens to win, which nobody ever was able to get close to Brad. I mean, he had the car, and it was really kind of funny because it was a really hot night. You could tell by the way the drivers were when they came out of their cars that they were spent. What did Bad Brad do? He put on his sunglasses and then hopped out of the car looking cool as the old proverbial cucumber. And like he had just driven down the street to get him some groceries. You know, that's how it was. This guy with that fourth win of his, that makes him the top seed, and everybody better look out for that Miller Lite Penske Ford there. They could very well be on a tear. But the old man is still got a little bit to say about it, even though he, I don't know if he led any laps or not. I'd have to look back and see, but maybe he led early because he was started out in second. And that's where he finished. After racing all 400 laps, second is where Jeff Gordon finished, and that was good enough for him because now he's second seed going into the chase. And that's all that's important, is where you line up for the race. Junior came up from 24th, his starting spot, up to 12th, and that was able to get him the third seed. So he is third in line there in the first tier of seating. Also, Jimmy Johnson, who collapsed after the race. I was telling you it was hot, and he looked, well, I never got a good look at him because he was horizontal before they got a camera on him, and he was on one of those little golf cart stretcher things, and they took him right off to the care center to get him pumped up with some fluids and such. He didn't even make the photograph session for the 16 drivers in the chase deal. After the race, they were still trying to get him pumped up. So, but he's fourth seed, and Joker Logano is fifth seed. And it was amazing to see these guys come out of these. Even Logano looked really spent, and Harvick looked real spent when he came out of the car. But that sets the chase for starting next week for the playoffs. And the way that this new chase format goes is there's going to be elimination. So instead of stick a fork in them like last year, you remember stick a fork in them? Well, that was just talk. This time they're actually gonna be off the chance of being in the championship once they've not done well enough. So in order to try to explain that a little better, I made a little chart. Let's see here. Yeah, I got me a little chart here that I made. And up here at the top, you got your top seed with Bad Brad Keselowski there. And the old man, Jeff Gordon Jr., the winner of the Daytona 500 this year. And I passed out after the race Jimmy Johnson and Joker Logano. And then next in the seating is Happy Harvick. That makes him sixth into the seating. 99, Carl Edwards, is seventh. Eighth is the Toad. And as you see, I don't have one of the new cars of the Toad yet. I wish Authentics would get on the stick there. Also, next up, we got in ninth place, we've got Nick's favorite, Denny Hamlin from Richmond. Also in 10th seed with a win is Kurt Busch in his 41 ride. And then we get over to 11th seed with Casey Kane from Enumclaw with his win last week, weekend before last at Atlanta that nobody told about on the radio up here. Next in the seating, 12th is the King's car, the number 43, driven by Eric Almirola. And then we get down here to the last seating. We've got, the only car that I could come up with for Eric Almirola was an old car when he used to drive for the King. So I don't have one of his new cars yet. Next we have Matt Kenseth, who does not have a win, who is in on points. Also in on points from Vancouver, Washington, is Greg Biffle. And then last in the seating is Ryan Newman, who I also don't have a new car of. Got one of his old Tony Stewart cars there. But they're going to have 3 races. Chicago and the next 2 races if you win one of those, you'll automatically go to the next level. If, say, Matt Kenseth or one of these guys down here at the bottom happen to win in the next 3 races, they'll get to automatically go to the next round. And then who's ever at the bottom of the points of these 16 here will get dropped. Now, I am going to make my prediction of who is going to get dropped. And I'm going to make it kind of easy on myself. I'm going to drop everybody that I don't have a new car of. Anyway, of people that I can. So I'm pretty sure that Allmendinger, I don't think he's going to make it through the first round. Ryan Newman, ditto. Don't think he's going to make it through the first round there. He's in it with a new team and everything. So that could hurt him. Also, I'd like to see Kyle. I'd like to see the Toad wreck a whole bunch and finish out of the top 30 all 3 times and get him out of the chase. That would be nice, because y'all know what I feel about him. And let's see. Sorry, Nick. I think Denny's going to go out too. Got to keep my wife's guy in there. And somehow or another, I think Matt's going to pull out a win in between here and next week. But let's, 3 weeks, excuse me. But let's just see what happens. And I'll update you with this wonderful chart that I made here to make things so much clearer when we meet again next month sometime. Okay, put that away over there. Get me a drink. Oh, also Saturday night, I caught me a little racing on Fan Choice TV. A little later there online, watched the little street stocks from looks like Tucson, Arizona, and it was kind of interesting because not only did they have the 70s Camaros that are so popular up here in the street stock series, but they also had the 80s Monte Carlos and Grand Prix and Regals and stuff like that. I really wish that that those were used as street stocks up here. That was a really nice looking body style, and the rear wheel drive, and there's got to be a bunch of them around. Somebody please explain to me why these cars aren't used more in the street stock series up here in the great Northwest. Okay. On to Sunday. Sunday was early in the morning again. Get up 4:30 to watch the pre-race, and then 5 o'clock comes the F1 race at Monza, the Italian Grand Prix. And it was a pretty good race. Hamilton started on the pole, but unfortunately he had some problems right at the beginning on his launch system, on the way that they get out of their box and get their best start. Well, somehow or another, I think his KERS wasn't fully charged or something like that. So he ended up, on the start, he dropped back to about 4th or 5th. But once things heated back up, his car was fully go, and he was up to the lead in hardly any time. Of course, with his teammate there right behind him the whole time, he wasn't able to make a whole lot of ground in the points there. Yeah, Rosberg finished 2nd when it was all over. Oh, Hamilton won. Yay, Hamilton won. It was great seeing him at the top of the podium there. Although the Ferrari fans there in Italy are pretty serious about their racing, and a lot of them were not happy at all that Ferrari was shut out from the podium. I mean, you could hear some boos out there in the crowd there at Monza during the podium celebration, especially when Nico Rosberg, when they interviewed him, a couple of boos there, you could hear those. But what was really cool during the podium celebration was Felipe Massa came in third, but he's in a Williams Mercedes, but he spoke to the fans in Italian because he used to drive for Ferrari, and they still liked him because he used to drive for Ferrari, and he was really able to assuage their anger, you might say, at there not being any Ferraris there on the podium. But that's how it goes sometime in racing. Oh, okay. So, the coming weekend, we got Chicagoland trucks on Friday, Nationwide on Saturday, and Cup racing on Sunday, which will be the first race of the chase. 16 drivers like I showed you, and 3 races later they'll be whittled down to 12. So, what else is there this coming weekend? There's ARCA. ARCA's racing at Salem, Indiana, and I'm guessing that the only way I'll see that is if I watch it online. I remember when Speed Channel was around and they used to show bunches of ARCA races, and I saw one there 14 years ago or so that Kenny Schrader was in, and he was challenging for the lead with a guy that was a regular ARCA driver. He was just racing that one race at Salem, and the regular ARCA racer was doing real well, but Kenny caught up to him and bumped him. Not on purpose, he just, the way the racing was going, he bumped him and spun the guy, and because the guy was racing for points and Kenny was not, Kenny pulled over and let the guy get his bearings back, and then fell in behind him. Now the guy had already lost several spots and lost the race, but Kenny didn't win the race that way. And ever since I saw that for myself, Kenny Schrader has always been one of my most favorite drivers, and it goes back to Salem, Indiana, and I hope I get to see that race this weekend. Also, the championship races for the late models are at South Sound and also Evergreen, and I had a little bit of a dilemma on should I go to Evergreen or should I go to South Sound. I can't be in 2 places at once. I really wouldn't mind having a clone, or maybe a couple of them, so I could send them out and watch everything, but that doesn't happen to be in the movies. So I put the question to my friends on Facebook, and the voting ended up pretty much tied, because the South Sound people wanted me to come down there, and the Evergreen people wanted me to come up there, and I appreciate all of the input, but the final vote was not even by a Facebook friend, as you saw in my post on Facebook, because of the traffic problem that's going to be created by construction, repair in the Olympia area right around Highway 101 and Interstate 5. I'm not going to go that way. Also, Kelly reminded me that the fair was going on in Puyallup, so that kind of knocks out going around that way to Puyallup and Graham. So, sorry, Dennis, Kevin, my driver friends down there, Brian. I know you're not driving this weekend, but anyway, I'd like to come see you, but I think the traffic and the construction are going to keep me away, and I'm going to go ahead and go up and see my friends up at Evergreen, like Andy and Mike and Molly and folks like that. Get to see them race, get to see Nat and Scott race their mini stock races, so that's where I think I'll go this weekend. So I'll see everybody there at Evergreen. Looking forward to seeing y'all there. Touch on a few more things before I let you go. Listening to the local radio this week, as I do when I'm at work, because the radio's in the car and they give traffic and they give pertinent information, but they also talk. They were talking about the Atlanta Hawks, the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, where he might have put out some sort of memo that appeared racist, that he was trying to get the demographics a little bit different with people that come to see his team play, and thinking that it was probably going to get him in trouble. Well, the guys on the radio decided to make the comparison. I don't know how they came up with this one, but they made a comparison to NASCAR and how NASCAR is grooming young folks to try to expand their fan base, which I can understand. Old guys like me aren't going to last forever. They need to have young people watching racing. I'm glad when I see young faces out at the track and when I see them on TV. But one of the things they happened to mention was they mentioned a fella they called Darren Wallace, but we all know who watch racing, who Darrell Wallace Jr. from Mobile, Alabama is. At least you ought to know watching this show. Bubba is one of my favorite drivers, even though he drives for the Toad. I don't hold that against him. I love it that he's from Alabama, and I want him to do well. And they applied that, like, NASCAR lets Darrell Wallace Jr. drive a truck, that they somehow allow it to happen in order to reach a different demographic fan base. Silly me. I thought the reason that Darrell Wallace Jr. got to race in NASCAR was because he was good. But, what do I know? He wins. I think that's why he gets to race, is because he wins. And I look forward to seeing him race for a long time. Looks like he's going to be moving up into nationwide, as things open up. So go Darrell Wallace Jr. Bubba, you're one of my favorite drivers, even though these guys on the radio don't know what they're talking about. So, another piece of news that I found out just today was that Kevin Harvick is going to get Tony Stewart's pit crew for the rest of the year during the chase. I think what I read was that they were going to get everybody but the gas man, because he's freaky fast. Oh, I like that one. And I'd like to thank Thomas Ben Scooter, one of my friends out there in Facebook land from the Yakima area, races, has his son racing now out at the Yakima track. Way to go. And he turned me on to that little bit of information on Facebook. So I really appreciate when y'all race fans out there, talk to me on Facebook. Tell me what you want to hear. I can say it as long as it's clean. Okay, I'm not going blue. Anyway, let me get me a drink. The nectar of the mountains, the dew of the hills. Just when I die, just stand me up there at the racetrack with a Mountain Dew in my hand and everything will be okay. Okay. Thank you, folks. I appreciate all of you people that watch my videos on Facebook. I am up over 6,500 views already just this summer. I just started this YouTube page this past summer with the race footage and everything, and 6,500 views already. Man, I appreciate every one of them, people. I mean, I know some of them are me watching my own stuff, but still, I couldn't watch anything 6,500 times. And that brings me to a question. And I'll leave it up to you folks. You can tell me on Facebook if you want to. But some people are telling me that I should maybe do some of those commercials on YouTube, where I let them run a commercial before my video. If you people don't mind waiting an extra, 10, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it is. Some of them you can click right off and you don't have to watch. But, let me know if that's okay with you folks. If you can put up with it, maybe it'll help me improve the show a little bit if I get, we'll just have to see. Also, today I got another subscriber to the YouTube page. I want to try to do shout outs to folks as they subscribe, and that is Adson Clayton. Great, 32 subscribers. I appreciate every one of you. Just pass the videos around on your site and everything. That's what they're there for, to enjoy racing. One other thing, got a couple of happy birthday shout outs to throw out there. The first one goes to last week's co-host. Yep, my brother Jamie is turned older, but not older than me. So, happy birthday there, Jamie. Thank you for coming out to visit me last week and being on the show. It was tons of fun. And my other happy birthday shout out today goes to Steve Cote up there in Evergreen. He runs the Friday night series that runs stock car series, street stock series, and some other divisions on Friday night, lower budgets. But big shout out to Steve, the Crusher. Happy birthday, Steve. Okay, well, I think I cleaned everything up for this week. Like I said, this coming weekend is Chicagoland for all the NASCAR racing. Salem, Indiana, which isn't too far away, there for ARCA racing, and no F1. I think they're the following week in Singapore. So I will see you folks next week here on my show. Please watch. It's brought to you by Monte Carlo Express Delivery, serving the courier needs of the Seattle area for over a decade now. I've been driving around out there for a long time. Anyway, and I'll see you folks out at Evergreen. Looking forward to seeing some great racing out on the late models. I do believe are going to be on the 5/8. So it should be really a lot of fun. They usually have a good car count. And I heard that Jessica Dana is going to make the trip up from Olympia to run there. So looking forward to seeing good things out of her, and out of Mike Holden, and out of Andy Soul, and out of Bud Moore, and out of Molly Helmet, and out of all the racers out there, even if you aren't on my Facebook page with me. So it'll be great. It's the late model championship for Evergreen. So we'll see you out there on Saturday. Until then, folks, hey, enjoy your racing while you can watch it. It's pretty much coming to a close. So enjoy it while you can. Bye, folks.